All Elite. Because I can't even call it wrestling anymore. Look at this clown. Look at this clown.
You were there, Tommy.
He looked. I called him a pencil neck. Look, his head and hair look like an eraser. I'm like, he literally looks like a pencil. Hey, Tony, if your neck hurts that bad, why are you turning your head, you jackass? Oh my god.
I can cut a promo, baby. I can sit right there if you want a Dusty Rhodes promo. It's right, Daddy. I've wined and dined with kings and queens. I feasted on alley and pork and beans, Daddy, if you will. I can do an ultimate.
Ric Flair.
A little bit of flair. Look at that, man.
10 pounds of gold, baby.
Look at that belt, bro. Look at that robe, more importantly. Now, that's a robe.
Yeah. Dave LaGreca, that is a robe.
Yes.
That's that crap that you have on. That
Fuck
is
Dave
a
LaGreca.
robe. Thank you.
Holy shit! We're back!
We're back to our old selves.
I've got the hat back on.
You got a hat on. And I promise it wasn't choreographed.
Welcome to another episode of Yankee Rebel Wrestlecast. I am Rebel B. Yankee Tommy is down in the bottom of the screen with his new little setup, looking sweet.
It's super simple. But, you know, my nice belt right
background. Here. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
We have got a lot to talk about, everybody. We are going to be starting the show off with SummerSlam, coming to you live on August the 3rd from Cleveland,
Ohio.
This is going to be a great pay-per-view, Tommy.
It's going to be a banger. I think it's their best card, top to bottom, they've had to date.
I agree with that.
It's going to be intense. It's going to be amazing. I'm hoping we're actually correct in our predictions this time because Sami Zayn fucked those up last time.
Yeah, good old Sammy. Which let's go over the card, and we're going to start off with that Intercontinental Championship match, Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. And if Breaker doesn't win the title this time, I'm pretty much done with a title run for Braun Breaker.
Yeah, there's no reason not to give him the belt. There's no reason for Sammy to keep it because, I mean, 1 minute he's fighting Braun Breaker and helping Ilya Dragunov. Then the next second he's in an interview and Jey Uso's getting attacked and he's helping Jey Uso. And then ends up in a tag team match with Jey Uso. So I'm all over the map with what Sammy's supposed to be doing. It literally just seems like Sammy just needs to go. And hey, maybe that's the start of, maybe Sammy's the fifth member that's going to help, you know, the bloodline take over Solo at some point. If that's the case, take the belt off of him.
Yeah.
Because Braun Breaker,
feel like that if Braun Breaker's going to be the key for us moving into the Netflix era, Breaker's got to have a title to move in. And we're not far from it. I mean, let's basically look at it. You know, we've got August, September, October, November, December. So he could have a long run with this title.
Yeah, and then once Netflix starts, it'll be interesting if they do, like, that night, if they just decide to have a draft, or if they wait till after Mania like they have. But either way, he's going to be on Raw. And one would think you'd want a man like Breaker as your Intercontinental Champion heading into that era, being that it's so important and so monumental.
And you made a good point that Sami Zayn has been in too many storylines. He was in the Alpha Academy storyline. He's been in the Dylan's with Breaker and Dragunov, and now he's back in with Jey Uso. And there's just been too many different storylines for a champion to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean he's just been floating. He just hops from one to the other and doesn't have his own story. So like
Yeah,
to me, it's like Braun Breaker. You know, he's a legit champion, one that you can get behind on. He's the perfect hybrid athlete to push to the top. And if you're gonna have this unfiltered, you know, just raw, literal word raw Netflix era, that's the kind of guy you're gonna want to have to head that ship.
yeah,
Because if literally anything goes, man, I can imagine some blood. I can imagine some gruesome scenes that this man's gonna leave in his wake.
absolutely. And plus it opens the door for that young talent to have a title, which is what Vince would never really do.
Yeah.
Michael Myers just died.
Yeah. He's pissed he's not on stream, so he took a
Yeah,
suicide dive.
man. He'll get back up though, I'll guarantee that.
Yeah. I shot
So
him 6 times, Sheriff.
Michael. Um, the second match we're going to be talking about is, to me, probably the sleeper match of the entire SummerSlam, and that is Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee in his flamboyance. And I really think this is going to be an amazing battle. I think that this is Punk's opportunity to get the big win that he's been needing. And I think somehow that Seth Rollins is going to get involved with this match, and it's going to be epic, and probably setting up with whoever wins as a potential Seth Rollins feud.
Yeah, so I was actually reading something this week, and it was kind of interesting. So bear with me. I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. So someone had posted in a wrestling group that they feel this match is going to be very similar to a SummerSlam '97, where they had Undertaker, Brett, and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
McIntyre being Undertaker, Punk being Bret Hart, and Seth Rollins being Shawn Michaels. And just to recap, kind of for those of you who might not know how that match actually ended, Shawn Michaels was a special ref for Undertaker defending the title against Bret Hart. Bret spit in Shawn's face and got under his skin bad enough. Shawn went to hit Bret Hart with the chair, but Bret ducked and Shawn hit Undertaker in the head with it. Bret then covered Taker while Shawn reluctantly had to make the count. And they feel that's exactly probably how that match is going to go. Punk getting under Seth's skin enough to force, if Seth's going to be a biased, down the middle party, it's going to cause him to screw McIntyre over yet again, and then have Punk go over to continue this feud. So
I thought it was funny that we had a picture of Drew McIntyre and Jack Perry, and it said two guys can agree when they hate one person. And I'm like, that's kind of in a nutshell, probably made my stomach turn, because Jack Perry makes my stomach turn. But they both hate Punk, and there's that. But I think this could be the sleeper match of the night. And this is going to be one of those matches that we'll remember and we'll talk about like we will in from the 97.
yeah, because I mean, if anything, Punk is as visceral as it gets, and I don't know how he does it, but he just keeps you invested and just keeps making you want to watch more. And I think this match, like you said, it's going to be underrated. It's going to be a sleeper because we really haven't seen him get physical since the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It's been so long that either one or the other's been out. So being able to see them in the ring for the first time in 7 months will be very interesting.
So moving on to our third match, SummerSlam, we have LA Knight versus Logan Paul. which I found this week that The Rock has officially said that he's done with Logan Paul.
Wow.
Which is not good for his continuation as United States champion. But again, like the Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker match, this is LA Knight's last chance of
Yeah.
being a champion.
Yeah, he's had so many opportunities, so many chances, and it hasn't turned out for him. So I'm just hoping that he can actually have his due this time, be the champion, and get that run that he deserves. Because I mean, him just like Jey Uso, they're white fucking hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole crowd when he does his LA night is just they're louder and louder every week. So
And,
I mean,
and one, he's again, being the not only wrestling fans, but knowing the business like we do, the man is selling t-shirts and selling merch like crazy.
yeah, I mean he's a machine. He is a absolute machine. And to speak on Logan Paul, I mean, I honestly think he's a liability for the company because I
Yeah.
think he's too much of a loose cannon. I mean, how many lawsuits does Prime have right now? And you notice they haven't advertised Prime like they usually were, back past several months. They haven't advertised it, nor have I really noticed that Prime hydration station. Maybe it's still there. I just haven't noticed it.
It's still there.
But they're not actively, advertising it anymore that I've noticed. So maybe that's an omen, and especially if The Rock don't like you and he's on the board of directors, that's not looking good for you, bud.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching us on stream right now, throw in chat who you guys think are going to win these matches. I want to kind of see who everybody thinks is going to win since we've just got through the first three matches, because that is, you may disagree with us, and I like that when people disagree with us. But yeah, I've got LA Knight going over Logan Paul. And that is, again, another last break opportunity for probably one of the hottest guys in the company to finally get over and get a belt.
Yeah, and I see this match. I see this match being pretty clean down the middle. I don't think that they're gonna have any interferences from Paul's end. Granted, they could. I mean, obviously, I think he'll try to use the brass knucks at some point because that's just what he does now.
Yeah.
But I have LA Knight going over. It feels like it's his time. I feel more confident than I have in the past when I picked him to win. So I'm hoping that he does it this time. And to go back the past two matches we went over, I have Punk going over on McIntyre to just continue the screw job of Drew McIntyre, just to make him even more psychotic than he already is.
Yeah.
And then Braun Breaker going over Sami Zayn.
Yeah. Next, the match I'm looking forward to, we've got Bayley versus Nia Jax. And
No. You were right the first time, but go ahead.
So, again, Nia Jax won the Queen of the Ring. She gets her shot against Bayley. Here's how I think this match is going to go down.
Okay, let's hear it.
I believe that Nia Jax is going to win. It's going to be a very big battle. And I think we're going to see Tiffany Stratton try to cash in.
And cost her the match or
And
distract Bayley? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the issue. I mean, because look, Tiffany Stratton has tried to cash in already. And this is going to be a match that is going to have a lot of surprises. And I think that they're going to beat the hell out of each other. And we're going to see Nia Jax win the title, but turn around and get pinned by Tiffany Stratton as she cashes in.
I was afraid of this ever since they put Nia and Tiffany together before she won the Money in the Bank. I was afraid of this because I know Nia deserves better than this. I would like to think that Tiffany Stratton would use her Money in the Bank to distract Bayley to help Nia win, and then eventually turn on Nia at some point. But I would like to see Nia get a pretty nice long title run,
Oh, I would too.
not have it screwed by Tiffany Stratton. I sincerely hope not.
You can't trust the Money in the Bank winner, man.
No, you can't. But come on, it's Nia.
Yeah, which we won't discuss in huge detail yet because we're going to get into it a little bit later. But the women's other women's championship, we have Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. And unfortunately, Tommy and I are both sad because Dominic is not in the Shark Tank up
No,
above the ring.
there's no
Because,
briefcase for his custody. None of it.
yeah, I
I'm a
mean,
little pissed.
I wanted a second custody of Dominic match, but Dominic, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth later, turned on Liv. But I've got my own little tidbit on that coming up later in the show. But
Okay.
probably the hardest hitting match of the night for SummerSlam will be Gunther versus Damian Priest. This is going to be a good match, but there's not going to be much to it because Gunther will be your new world champion.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's inevitable. It's written in the stars. You know, they haven't had much of a build up to it, but what they've had, I feel like, is substantive, and it's done what it's supposed to, because people are actually cheering for Damian Priest now, which they really honestly weren't before.
Yeah.
So I see, obviously Gunther taking the street trash and putting it in the garbage can. And I think I personally think that there's going to be an assist from Finn Balor. Not that he needs one, but they've been planting the seeds. Last PLE, you saw, Finn Balor say, "Whatever you say, boss." The camera zoomed in on him, so I'm thinking Finn's going to have some. Maybe I just thought of this. Maybe in the middle of the match to distract Damian Priest, the demon music plays.
It's good.
To like distract him. You see the mist, the smoke. You think the demon's coming out. Priest gets distracted. Gunther slaps the shit out of him as he does everybody. Your new world champion.
Yeah.
The Ring General, Gunther.
You have to admit, though, with him being the king of the ring, he's had a lot more time to prepare on this than Damian Priest has.
He was off TV for what, a month and a half, 2 months. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he is fresh.
Yeah,
he's had a lot of time to just prepare for Damian Priest. So, I mean, Priest was obviously back against the wall, but I don't see any other alternative to Gunther coming out as world champ.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with that. And your main event for SummerSlam 2024, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. This match could get a little interesting. I think that could we see a Roman return?
We the ones, baby.
I mean, it's
if Roman doesn't come out at the end of this match, because I could see somehow. I feel like the bloodline should be barred from ringside, but I don't think it's going to happen. Because I mean, technically speaking, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens have both been knocked out, supposedly. Yeah. So Cody's really got nobody. So I don't know, like maybe we don't see Roman and maybe we see Yeet. I don't know.
We could. I mean, which Roman was reported to be back this month. And
Yeah,
I know
because
when I'm watching SmackDown every week, I'm waiting for that music to hit. And it's like they keep us on the edge of our seat, and still no Roman.
yeah, because the past couple weeks it's been Bloodlines dismantled Cody Rhodes, and we're waiting for something, and then you see the credits, and I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
not this week. So I'm hoping, but I'm thinking you're probably gonna have to wait till the end of that match to see your real tribal chief return. Because I mean, you could even see a Paul Heyman appearance.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. It's a hard one to predict because there's so many factors that go into this match and so many moving parts. But
Which, speak of the bloodline, I saw something really awesome today, and that is Fatu and not Tamatonga.
Tongaloa,
No, Tamatonga and Fatu are getting their own action figures, but no Tongaloa.
that's not surprising.
So, I'm pretty pumped about that. That's
If
I
they
think it's
if
very
they
fitting.
have a Tongaloa figure, it's got to have an arm that does this, and then Tamatonga's head right there. I saw I can't remember where I saw it, but they were selling a Jacob Fatu MLW figure
Oh,
that I
nice.
thought about getting. That probably be his first figure he's ever had.
Yeah.
So that'd be a fun one. But I mean, you got to get Jacob Fatu's figure.
Yeah. Shout out to
Yes.
Ringside Collectibles, because that's
They are great.
they're huge, man. It's
They are great.
but that's SummerSlam, and I want to now move us into TNA Slammiversary.
Break it down, baby, because
And
I know you were able to actually watch the pay-per-view.
yes.
So break it down for us, man.
Well,
What
first and
what was your
foremost,
highlight? What was your low
so,
light, if there was one?
well, we Bearded and I actually got the pay-per-view, and we us and D, and it was, going into it, I hadn't watched a TNA pay-per-view in a long time. And this card was stacked from start to finish. The low for me, and I'll go into the low before I go into the highs of pay-per-view. The low was probably the Jordan Grace versus Ash by Elegance, aka Dana Brooke match.
Really?
Yeah, Dana Dana still is missing something in the ring. But
Talent? I don't know.
it just she still wrestles like a diva. And there's parts of it that she doesn't, but there's a lot, like her hits and things like that are still very divish. And I know that could probably work a little bit in the knockout division of TNA, but when you're going against somebody like Jordan Grace, the Juggernaut, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, these punches shouldn't even be working. Now,
Yeah.
granted, the highlight for everybody in this match was that Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance, had a couple wardrobe malfunctions and gave a pretty good booby show to everybody that was in attendance. But I'll have to admit that Montreal, Canada crowd was hot from start to finish. And you're talking about maybe 4,000 to 5,000 people, and it was like watching a WWE PLE. They were that hot.
I mean, Montreal's a pretty good wrestling town.
Yeah.
So they always show up.
So one, you had ABC versus the System, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, which I love. They're both veterans. The whole System gimmick is great with Moose and JDC, also known as Fandango back in WWE. But ABC came out on top, re-won the tag titles, which is Chris Bay from NXT. And the cool part about it is we had a NXT TNA mashup, which was really nice. You had Dempsey, of course, being William Regal's son. You had TNA on one side with NXT. You had NXT on the other side. And it was nice to see that crossover in TNA. We've already seen it in NXT, but we got to see it in a TNA pay-per-view match, which was really nice. And then we got to see Top Dollar, which is AJ Francis now,
Uncle Phil.
take on PCO, which is a major veteran in the business, and Steph DeLander, which has managed Zack Ryder for so long now in the Indies, is a part of that storyline. PCO wins 2 belts because Top Dollar AJ Francis had both belts, and PCO now is carrying 2 belts, and Steph DeLander proposed to PCO, and we now have a wedding next week on Impact, which I think is funny as all get out.
I just can't get over the fact that Top Dollar AJ Francis had such a fall from grace. Because, if you remember, he was a part of Hit Row.
Yeah.
Swerve Strickland was actually somewhat entertaining.
Yeah.
And interesting. And then, ever since LA Knight called him Uncle Phil, he just has fallen from his Jordan Grace. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice. Nice. Well, we also had, to me, probably the match of the night before the World Championship match. I guess the second best match of the night, and that was Mustafa Ali versus Speedball Mike Bailey, which I love saying Speedball. And we know that Mustafa Ali not used well in WWE, and just a great talent. I love his gimmick right now with the whole political thing and making wrestling great again and all this. And then Speedball Mike Bailey, which, of course, Japan, he's been all over the world wrestling. We had the referee knocked out by a super kick by Speedball Bailey, and Mustafa Ali makes an X, and all of a sudden Earl Hebner shows up to referee the end of the match. And I'm like, holy hell, it's Earl Hebner. And all of a sudden I started thinking, holy crap, they're in Montreal. And we know that Earl Hebner did the Montreal screw job on Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. So I'm like, here we go again. We're going to have another.
Didn't Montreal they chant, "You screwed Bret"?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so Hebner had some conflictions, and then Mustafa Ali gets put in the sharpshooter, which was just glorious. And Mustafa Ali taps, and Speedball Bailey is your new X Division champion, which was just a fantastic match. Just such a fantastic match. And the championship match was a six-way elimination. You had Steve McLean versus Frankie Kazarian versus Moose versus Joe Henry versus Dolph Ziggler and, Nick Nemeth now. And probably one of the coolest back and forth matches I've ever seen. Now, of course, everybody was pulling for Joe Hendry, and weirdly enough, Joe Hendry pins Moose, the current TNA champion, and the place erupted. The place went nuts. And then all of a sudden, Josh Alexander comes in, which we know Josh Alexander is being a face. He does a low blow on Joe Hendry, and costs Joe Hendry the match. And he's now heel, which we've never really seen a heel Josh Alexander. And then we had the final two, which was Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. And of course, as you can see if you're watching the stream, Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, is now your new TNA World Champion, which He said last night on Impact that he's going to be a fighting champion, and next week on Impact he will be fighting Mustafa Ali for the TNA Heavyweight Championship.
I mean, doesn't he have like 3 world title belts from different companies right now? Like he's trying to pull a Kenny Omega and just take all the belts.
Hey, I'm telling you, they WWE dropped the ball with him, man. Yeah, he had a
Oh,
great run,
hardcore. I
but
mean, he's one of their best work. He was one of their best workers.
there
I
is no.
mean,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say his matches with the Miz were classics.
Yes,
Like they were classics, and he didn't get the respect he deserves because he shouldn't still be one of their top champions in the main event scene, and they really screwed the pooch.
one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sellers in the business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, literally every finisher that he takes, he sells out for.
Yeah, I mean there's wrestlers that will take a good sell, but Ziggler takes it to a whole new level, and that's why I hugely respect Nick Nemeth because the guy can make you look so good that you're like you said the finishers he makes you look so good in the ring. And of course the famouser is probably one of the greatest finishers because it's so high impact, so energied that you just have to love this guy. And I'm just glad that he's now getting his due because it's been a long time since he's held a world title.
Oh, it's been a decade. Easy.
So not since he was managed by AJ Lee and then brought out with Big E before Big E even joined the New Day. You know, it's
Yeah.
the last time we saw him with a world title.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to switch gears, but I mean, even a guy like Finn Balor, he
Yeah.
hasn't sniffed a world title in 8 years. He literally held it for a day, and then he got hurt, so
But he
it's
was the first Universal Champion.
he was the now defunct Universal title. So I mean, it's just nice to see guys who are great workers get their due, their well deserved due after they haven't for so long. Because
Well, one thing I found out about TNA Slammiversary is just how hot Joe Hendry is to the crowd.
bro, he just hit it one time for the fans. Just hit
Yeah,
it
oh
one
yeah,
time
we
for
got
us.
we got to hit it.
Hit it for us.
I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. London and Paris, Tokyo, Mexico. I believe in Joe
Dude,
Uh,
how do
I
you
just
not believe in Joe Hendry?
man, one guy that is working full time in two wrestling promotions, two
Legit.
wrestling promotions, TNA and NXT. How can you not love Joe Hendry?
I mean, so I was I was thinking about this, and obviously, we had Joe Hendry interrupt Elias. You know, it just seems to me that Elias is everything Joe Hendry. I mean, is everything that Joe Hendry is like. Elias wanted to be what Joe Hendry currently is because I
Yeah.
can't seem to form a sentence right now because Joe Hendry is life, but like you just see Joe Hendry come out there and it's effortless. And then you're like Elias, you're like, man, you really wanted to be him, but you're just not him. You are not.
There
So
are wrestlers that have gimmicks that are stale, and then there's wrestlers that have gimmicks like Joe Hendry that is mesmerizing. Because all it is a catchy song and a guy that knows how to work the crowd.
legit.
But we can't get enough of it.
No.
I mean, even my wife says that after she saw a Joe Hendry TikTok, now that's all that she sees on her TikTok is Joe Hendry TikToks now.
Dude, I once a day, every day, I get a reel of something of Joe Hendry. Whether it's one of his old indie like song mashups that he used to do with his music videos, or just, like an image of Deadpool looking at a screen, and then you see Joe Hendry in New York City on the billboard. Like he's just everywhere, and he is the wrestling business right now. He's so on fire. And I mean, the fact that he pinned Moose, like you admit, totally off screen, that's got to be, a thumbs up for him from everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Like, your time is coming.
Yeah. Which on Impact last night, you had ABC and Matt Hardy versus the System, and Moose came out and was going to try to make a impact on the show, no pun intended. And Joe Hendry comes out, and it's like time stops.
Legit.
Yeah.
It's like whatever was going on don't matter.
Yeah.
Once Joe Hendry comes out, I mean, it's almost like when you're in Red Robin, you hear the Red Robin. Everyone stops and goes, yum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally...
Which I'm so happy that we have broken Matt Hardy again. And just to hear a promo from him with the wonderful, it helps my heart for professional wrestling.
Yeah, because he was so watered down when he was in WWE with that as Woken Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the same. So
no.
The fact that he's able to be his legit broken Matt Hardy with Brother Nero, yeah. Oh.
But it's still over. That gimmick is still over, and everybody's still doing the delete. And You're like, now that is long-term storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the fact that we can get the Hardys back in TNA and they never skipped a beat.
No.
That is excellent gimmick, excellent storytelling, and things that we don't want to go away. So
I got a quick question that's a sidebar because I was just thinking about it. Are the Hardys the only one from, the TLC tag teams that aren't in the Hall of Fame? Because the Dudleys, Edge, and Christian are... No, is Christian not in? I
don't think Christian's in.
So it's the Dudleys and Edge, and then that's it. Huh. Well, I mean, Lord knows Christian ain't going in anytime soon since he's over in AEW. But yeah, the Hardys, whenever they're done and they want to come back to WWE, they'll definitely get in.
Oh, there's no doubt, especially with the crossover.
Yeah. What's up, Rob?
Rob, what's up, buddy? Sorry your day was rough.
I mean, I hear you. It's been a long week. It's been a long, busy week. So, thankfully, the weekend is here. I mean, man, we basically, just to break it down, we've already went over SummerSlam, talking about TNA currently going over Slammiversary.
Well, to give a final thing on it, I actually give the pay-per-view a 9 out of 10. And that's how good Slammiversary was, because TNA focuses on the wrestling side of it besides the sports entertainment side. And there was banger after banger on professional wrestling matches. I would give it a 10 out of 10 if Ash by Elegance wasn't so sloppy.
So, question then. You say that TNA, they focus on the wrestling. How would you compare then AEW to TNA? Because that's what AEW is known for, is we focus on the wrestling.
Well, I don't think AEW is focusing on the wrestling. I think they're trying to focus on storylines a little bit and they're not doing a good job with that, which I know we'll get to AEW here in a minute, but I watched Dynamite on Wednesday with Blood and Guts, and up to the Blood and Guts match, it made my stomach turn.
I mean, literally watching the Chris Jericho match, as much of a fan as I am of him,
And even Suzuki.
Yeah, and I might get banned from the cruise for life for saying this, but Chris Jericho needs to step away from in-ring competition. I don't like saying it, but what I watched is a shell of what Y2J used to be in the ring. I love the learning tree gimmick. I think it's great, but I don't think he can do it in the ring anymore like he used to.
Well, I mean, he's been in it for what, over 35 years?
Well, yeah. I mean, I honestly think that after his initial AEW title run, I honestly think it would have been best if he just, all right, that's it. Like, I'll be on TV, I'll do this, that, and the other, but I mean, he's kind of slowly declined from there.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that he bulked up a little bit, because he was starting to be Sheamus when Sheamus came back. But that match was hard to watch between he and Suzuki, and that bump that was on his chest got busted wide open. So I guess he had some acne from getting his chest waxed, because Suzuki chopped him until it started bleeding. And then the next thing you know, he's pulling a Ric Flair out of his chest. And it's the only good thing that Jericho has left is his gimmick and his Judas effect. And that's the only two things that he's got going for him left.
Yeah. Well, and his fireball. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You and I are huge Chris Jericho fans. You have every figure of his AEW one sign that he's ever come out.
Yes.
You know, I am a huge fan of his. I mean, he is the best gimmick machine we'll probably ever see. But I'm just being real. I'm just being real from what I see. I don't think he should be wrestling anymore.
Robert made a good point. He said that TNA is better at focusing on pure wrestling more so than anyone else. AEW started doing well, then they wanted to be better than WWE and started really slipping at that point.
Yeah.
I mean couldn't have said it better ourselves.
No, I mean, we've said pretty much that same sentiment. Like, once they started not doing their own thing, which kind of fitting was when Cody left, is kind of when things started to go downhill.
It did.
You know, ironically enough, which, I mean, the man who started it might be their kryptonite.
But it's so weird because people were tired of him winning titles, and now we're like, God, man, we'd love to have Cody back in AEW.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes the grass ain't always greener. I mean, now he's the most over thing in wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, every time he comes out, that crowd, everyone in the arena is doing that whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's doing the same thing he was doing in AEW. He's just in WWE now.
That's
like,
it.
Nothing's changed.
That's it.
And he's the most over thing ever. So, I mean, AEW is trying way too hard.
Yeah.
They're trying way too hard. And the fact that half of AEW I can't even really watch. Seriously, watch and take it like, oh my gosh. Like, man, this is some good stuff. Like, I mean, it's really MJF or bust for me at this point almost.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch MJF, he starts out the show hot, you know, debuting the new American Championship, and then...
Which I do have to admit, though, the Britt Baker-Shida match was really good.
That was fire. That was probably the best match of the night.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love Britt. I love Sheeta. They are two of my favorite women in AEW. But I can't with Sasha Banks. I can't with the Elite because their story makes no sense whatsoever. The whole thing with them running the show, and it's dumb to me. It doesn't do anything for me. The Bucks were much better when they just did their super kick party and they were just over.
yeah,
Now it's like I could care less to really watch them at all.
yeah. I miss the Bucks having super kick parties, the BTE trigger, and when they quit doing being the elite on YouTube, I think that hurt a lot because people love that.
Dude, it was
And
amazing. It was so funny.
especially when Cody got possessed by the spirit of WWE. I mean, it was
And then like Adam Cole gets reincarnated.
yes.
Just
They're just it's like now we're trying to run AEW as a business instead of where the focus really was, because I mean, we've been on the Jericho cruise. We know the hype of AEW. We know how this ride started, and they've gotten away from that so much because, just like Robert said, they're trying to compete with WWE and make us the same product, but it's not the same product.
no, not even close. No, because like if you even compare AEW, WWE, and TNA, just the styles of wrestling, that the company styles are so different.
Yeah, all three are completely different.
WWE to me is the slowest pace of them all because the storytelling is built in the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like TNA is just straight up wrestling. It's technical. It's just good. And then AEW is just kind of floating around. They're just flying, bouncing off walls and flipping stuff. And hey, if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, oh well, we'll add it to the botch list. And not to mention, I have a graphic that I pulled up on my phone that I find hilarious. So here's AEW's current injury list, okay? Adam Cole, Adam Copeland, Bandito, Dalton Castle, Eddie Kingston, Jamie Hayter, Jay White, Julia Hart, Keith Lee, don't know where he's been, Kenny Omega, Cole Carter, Mark Davis, Matt Sydal, Miro, Ortiz, Powerhouse Hobbs, Riho, haven't seen her in 5 years, Sky Blue, Trent, and Yuka Sasaki.
Wow.
So it seems like AEW might be where the best get injured, not where the best wrestle.
Yeah,
I
and,
mean,
and those names are people that put asses in seats.
correct. Like they're some of your best wrestlers, like two years ago. I mean, all these people or I'd say probably 50% or more are on television every week.
Yeah.
Like if these guys are on your show, the Swerve Stricklands of the world are not your world champion.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've talked about this before. Is AEW's lack of shows that they do on a weekly basis a detriment to their bodies? Because you're not doing it consistently.
Well, it's consistency is what it's about. And I mean, you've got WWE doing house shows pretty much every single night, and their bodies are maintaining it, which of course, they can take vacations when they need to rest their bodies and all that. But like you said, it's a consistency level that these people's bodies are more prone to it than any other wrestling company.
Yeah, well, yeah, because if you think about it, the more you do it, the more your body's conditioned to it, the better your body will react if something happens. Like, most people might not wrestle on a Monday night, but at a house show, they're wrestling 2-3 nights a week to keep fresh.
Yeah.
you know, and with AEW not doing any house shows, like I want to say they did it briefly and then they stopped it for whatever reason. But like the more you do that, the more your body's going to be conditioned, and the less likely you are when you know have an all in or an all out or you know your pay per views once every couple months. When you go balls to the wall, you're less likely just to get hurt. I mean,
What? How much of that though is people not protecting each other in the ring too?
well, yeah, that's the next part to it. Is like it's consistency, and then it's just not being reckless. I mean, which goes hand in hand. If you're consistently practicing your craft, the less likely you are to have, you know, these botches or you know these slip ups and terrible accidents to where you know if you're practicing your moves, I mean you're it's just repetition. Practice makes perfect. And the fact that all these people are getting hurt and they're big names too. It's not like they're mid carders to just, you know, fillers. I mean, these are the Kenny Omegas, the Adam Coles, the Edges, the Keith Lees, these big names that you're having out for months on end. And what do you have to show for it?
Well, it's also like in the blood and guts match from Wednesday night. You know, you're taking blatant chair shots and things like that can really injure somebody. But I mean, I get the blood and guts match. You want it to be as violent as possible. I mean, they're bringing out staple guns. I mean, all this stuff, man, that is just that could
Which
put people on shelves automatically.
Well, yeah, to me, when they brought out the staple gun, regardless, I mean, like, if it actually had staples in it, like, come on. Like, thumbtacks, okay. Like, those are, I mean, they hurt like hell, but they can come out. But a staple? And then you're talking about Mark Briscoe wailing that chair on Jack Perry unprotected.
Yeah,
Reminded me of when Sean Spears hit Cody that one time
yeah,
and busted him clean open. It's not safe. It's just like Rob said, they're trying to overdo it, wow factor wise, and it's getting people hurt.
yeah,
So it's a combination of you're trying to overcompensate for everything, and you're getting people hurt.
yeah. I agree. The biggest takeaway from Dynamite, I'm a big Camille fan. I loved her in NWA. She probably was one of the greatest women's champion ever in NWA, and I just wish that they didn't put her with Mercedes Moné. But I think that's going to be one way to keep Mercedes healthy is by letting Camille be your enforcer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like not for nothing. I mean, when's the last time that Mercedes has wrestled? I'm pretty sure it was Forbidden Door, right?
Yeah,
I mean, kind of convenient that they're keeping the fragile Sasha Banks out of the ring until All In because Lord knows if she wrestled every week, she'd probably be on the shelf by now.
yeah. I cannot agree more. Which brings us to our next point, which I'm just excited about, and that is talking a little bit more about the Rhea and Liv match. I've got my own point of view, and I had to put this graphic up because it was probably the most non PG era spot in a long time with WWE, and that was Liv saying, "Why would you want her when you could have this?" And she turns around and we
Just
got butt
ass
cheeks everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
but I put this graphic up of the Wolverine meme, and my prediction again. I'm going Nostradamus mode on everybody. Dom is somehow going to screw over Rhea and Liv will retain at SummerSlam.
It's got to it's got to be on purpose. I think he's going to purposely cost. I think this was a smokescreen that they planned because if you remember, they mentioned that he had met with Liv, and is it convenient that they come out, reinforce him to come out, and then they have this happen? So it's just it's too coincidental. Granted, it was some of Dom's best promo work of his career. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that Mola was like the man grew a set of balls. Like the match wasn't a stick on his mustache. Like,
Hey, he's got an epic mustache and mullet.
oh my lord. I mean, if you ask Alex, he looks like a rat. But
I'm a Dom fan, so I can't help it. I am a Dominic Mysterio fan, and I can't help
I
it.
like me Dirty Dom. I just wish that in the ring he was a little more successful. Because I mean, granted, he is super super young. However, I feel like his time is coming. And I feel like they're giving him a slow build because, I mean, as much as he's hated as a heel right now, kind of like Eddie Guerrero was when he was a heel, I feel like if Dom ever comes back to being a face, he's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Because that's normally how it works, right? If you're a super, super big heel, I mean, you can be one of the biggest baby faces.
Yeah.
I mean, not always, but generally speaking, if you're talented, you can pull that either way. So, but yeah, it's got to happen because that's going to further this storyline, and it's going to start. You know, SummerSlam has got to be the end of the Judgment Day. It's got to be the start to the end of the Judgment
Okay.
Day.
Okay.
Because if I'm predicting that Finn Balor's going to somehow screw over Damian Priest, and you're predicting that Dominic Mysterio is going to screw over Rhea, who's left besides Finn, JD, and I don't even consider Carlito.
No.
But like, I mean, Judgment Day will be over soon.
I can see that. That's a very good point, Tommy. I can see that happening. Before we jump into our SmackDown preview for tonight, I want us to kind of fire off on Sami Zayn and also on the King and Queen of the Ring impacts. And that is two areas that I think is going to make SummerSlam very interesting.
Yeah.
So I know Sami Zayn's your favorite wrestler.
Absolutely. I am a Zaynanite. But I haven't been able to understand his character since he left the bloodline. He just seems like he whines about this, he whines about that. He just interjects himself in all these different stories, like storylines like we mentioned. The Alpha Academy. Now he's in, Jey Uso's business, and he's with Breaker and Dragunov. Like he's here, there, and everywhere, and I don't know what is happening. Like it just none of it makes sense to me, other than he needs to lose.
It's like he'll be a New Day the next week or something.
Right, just some stupid, and I'm sure at some point, he'll interject himself in a Sheamus match because Pete Dunne is being mean to Sheamus and he's being a bully and he needs to stop. And you need to be a fella and have banger after banger after. I digress.
Robert's back on the Mysterio thing. He said, "Is he going to turn face and leave Judgment Day much like the Shield had to break up for those guys to take off solo?"
So, Robert, if you could elaborate a little bit more And like how do you think he's gonna turn face and leave Judgment Day? Because I'm kind of intrigued by that.
I think it's going to be Liv altogether. I think that's how you do it, because I could see Dom going after the Intercontinental or United States title, whichever show that he's on, and I could see him eventually having a strap.
Yeah, let's see. He hasn't had a belt since he was the North American champion.
Yeah,
Um, but you got to think though. At this point, who would he be more likely to take a belt off of? Braun Breaker if he wins, or LA Knight if he wins? Because those two, again, two who are saying if they don't win, their title aspirations might be over for the foreseeable future. So, do you interject Dom right away in one, or hey, maybe you have him win Money in the Bank? I don't know. That way
that's
he can
kind
kind
of
of
interesting.
weasel his way into a title.
Yeah, and Robertson
Because
absolutely Liv. So
I
he's in
mean, Liv
agreement
is,
with us.
and so quick side note before we jump to the King and Queen of the Ring stuff. I just gotta say that I saw a meme out there that said, "You're an adult when you understand that Liv is the good guy in this scenario."
That's a good point.
Because, I mean, if you break it down, what has Rhea done? Dom is her, like, Dom is hers. Like, it's her possession. She owns Dom. She said when she came back that, no, like, you're not mine. I mean, like, no, you're mine. I am not yours. And Liv's offering him that, hey, she's treating you like crap. I'll show you how you should be treated. So it's an interesting way to look at it because I honestly hadn't looked at it like that.
Yeah, good point.
Anyway, King and Queen of the Ring. We've been saying it for months. Gunther and Nia are destined to win their titles. But Brian, do you actually think that both of them will successfully claim their titles?
Again, I think that Nia's going to win against Bailey, and then she's getting cashed on.
So you're just going
setting
for
up a
the
rivalry for Stratton and Nia.
I hope you're wrong, but I could see that happening. To me, I don't feel like you have to rush Tiffany Stratton into being world champion. And I think that if you establish a story where you have Tiffany with Nia for a little bit, and then you kind of just start to see Tiffany, outshining Nia or being the focal point of everything, and then, eventually, shit hits the fan. I could see that, but I feel like Nia's just been on a roll and she's worked so hard, and she's only had one world title, and it didn't end the way at least I thought it should have. So I don't know, man.
WWE is ready for a pay-per-view to get titles off of champions. And that's what I loved about Slammiversary is that almost every champion but Jordan Grace got beat.
Yeah,
and those are the kind of pay-per-views I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're in agreement that pretty much all the titles, I think maybe beside Cody, should be switch hands.
Yeah. Because
So
we're going into after SummerSlam, we're going into Royal Rumble territory. So you've got like 4 or 5 months to where you can create better storylines with new champions.
Yeah, because Survivor Series, I mean that's been War Games, so it's a different aspect than a traditional Survivor Series kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, like after SummerSlam, you're kind of on the road to WrestleMania at that point.
Yeah.
Building for the Rumble and kind of laying the groundwork for the big trek that is to come. Because I mean, Survivor Series is Survivor Series, but once the Royal Rumble comes around, I mean, we're gonna be in the Netflix era at that point.
Yeah.
SmackDown's gonna be on USA.
Yeah.
I think sooner than later. I think before the first of the year, I think they're gonna be on USA. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, you got some time, so it'll be interesting for sure. I'm pretty sure we'll be texting back and forth throughout the night because
Oh, no question.
it's gonna be epic.
Which now brings us to the SmackDown preview.
Which is already kicked off. Um, but yeah, you got the big tag team number one contendership match, which looking at every team there, all I see is Bloodline, Bloodline, and Bloodline. So
Yeah.
Bloodline. I mean, like let's just break it down. Pretty Deadly. No, they don't do anything for me. Humberto and Angel, they're not established. I mean, Corbin and Apollo Crews, sure, throw a tag team together. Gallows and Anderson, you and I like Gallows and Anderson.
I do.
But on the main roster, they just haven't been used properly. Montez and Angelo, I love them as a tag team. But they've kind of been, again, just meandering through. And then, there's the Bloodline.
Well, none of the Bloodline right now are carrying titles, and that's you've got to have a supremacy going on, and that's how they do it is by carrying belts.
Right, which will then, you would think, set up, if they're going to have a number one contenders match after SummerSlam, is that when they have Bad Blood, or is it? Yeah, because Survivor Series in November, that's Bad Blood. So you're presuming you're going to have Tommaso and Gargano against Tama Tonga and Tongaloa at Bad Blood.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you this question because it was reported this week that WWE signed Hikuleo, the 6'8" giant and brother of these two. Do you think they have almost like a Kane-like debut where he comes in and, referee knocked out and just wrecks ship and they get the tag team titles?
When do you stop putting more members in the new Bloodline?
Well, I think they have to have Jacob switch over.
Yeah.
I think he's. I mean, every time I see the Bloodline out there, he's the one that catches my eye. I mean, all the shit that he's been doing, his arsenal is legit insane. Like he is the best member of the current Bloodline.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that at some point he's going to outshine Solo Sikoa.
Which I think he already is, but that's just me.
Yeah, so I mean, it's either you have Hikuleo go with Roman, so you have the Tongas and Solo, which are the Usos' brother, and then the Usos and Hikuleo, which they have 2 and 2, and then they each have another brother, or you just have them all together, so. Anyway, we have Bayley and Michin teaming up against the aforementioned Tiffany Stratton and the greatest Queen of the Ring we've ever had. All hail Queen Nia. I mean, you tell me.
A build-up match.
Yeah, we sure do. Do you think Tiffany's going to try to fake cash in again?
No.
No, you're saving it? She's going to cash in?
Saving it.
Who wins this match?
I think that probably going to have Nia and Tiffany Stratton go over to build the momentum moving into SummerSlam.
I mean, Bayley's been getting massacred. Just straight up massacred. And it's just leading up to this big boiling point where, I mean, you almost got to have, I would almost say, like, you'd have to have Nia win, Tiffany try to take the spotlight, and then, like, Nia get upset with her, like, bitch, it's my time. Your time's later. I just hope they don't screw her over. I will be pissed. I will be so pissed off. And if Bearded Dog says a word to me if that happens, I will have him liquidated.
So, rant wise, I'm going to let you jump in. And I know that you've got some things that you want to talk about, and which, well, yeah, here we go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, there's a picture of 3 women on the screen that you may or may not have heard of. Stephanie Vacour, we've talked about on the show. She's one of the newest signees to NXT's women's division. In the middle, we have Julia. And on the right, we have Delta. These are 3 badass women.
Yes.
That WWE has now signed to their women's division. Clearly making NXT's women's division the greatest in professional wrestling, bar none, by far. And we all know that WWE about a decade ago had a women's revolution when they had the horsewomen come in. I can easily see these 3 women being the face of an evolution of the way women's wrestling is, because these are 3 of the most talented and tough women that you'll find in professional wrestling. And all with different styles, different looks, and they're from different parts of the world. But it's just so cool to see these women being put to the forefront and actually having eyeballs on women's wrestling like this, because you put these 3 women in WWE with the brand power and everything, they are bar none going to take over.
I could not agree more.
Because the times of the Baileys and the Charlottes and the Beckys, you can tell it's starting to kind of wind itself down. We haven't seen Charlotte, and it feels like almost 2 years. We haven't seen Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch is taking an extended hiatus.
Sasha's
Bayley,
gone.
So yes. I mean, so Sasha's in AEW. And Bayley's the last one really left standing. And I feel like people are kind of like over her to a degree. But, I mean, when you look at NXT, the people who are coming up next, I mean, Shawn Michaels has done such a good job. I mean, you got Roxanne Perez, who is a beast, and she's going to be one of the next big things that this company has. Oh, not to mention Alexa Bliss has been gone with her baby and everything. She's not there anymore. So you got some huge shoes to fill. And my big thing is, I think these 3 women right here can take those spots and make you forget of the people who had them spots before them.
Yeah.
Because they are that talented and they deserve to have that kind of spot. But it's just, it's getting hotter and hotter. And the women's division is going to be, which was once the weakest division, is going to be easily the strongest in these next couple months once these ladies debut.
Good call. Well, I've got 2 things to talk about in my rant tonight before we finish the show. And the first is our favorite wrestler. And
he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. Cause they love London and Paris, Tokyo, America, Scotland, Canada, and Mexico. They say I believe in
We've got a concert Tuesday night.
Oh,
A live concert on NXT Tuesday nights with the man himself, Joe Hendry.
so can I just add to this and say the only real person to ever have a legit concert that's been built like this is a rock concert.
Yes.
Oh God, please continue. Oh,
So Joe Hendry was out putting flyers on every car at NXT on last Tuesday, and we're going to have a Joe Hendry concert live on NXT Tuesday night. I mean, this guy, like we said earlier in the show, this guy is the money maker. And to kind of go into the last part of my rant for tonight, Bearded and I are going to TNA Emergence at the end of next month. They've already said Joe Hendry's going to be there. We've already got our T-shirts. I'm going to go to Party City, buy me a blonde wig, and we're going to be on TV the entire night because we've got front row seats for Emergence.
oh
And
man.
so if you see guys wearing blonde wigs and Joe Hendry shirts, shout us out. We are going to have a blast. And I can't wait to hear that music hit and for him to have one hell of a match. But Tuesday night, tune into NXT, Joe Hendry concert, and it's just going to be phenomenal. Cannot wait.
So I just gotta say, when you hear Joe Hendry's music hit for the first time live, are you gonna have a change of shorts ready? Because they're gonna be messed.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna be
Yeah,
messed.
no question. No question.
You might want to wear Depends for the first time ever that night.
Who let you know that's the first time I'm ever wore Depends, okay?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know.
I've been to a lot of wrestling matches, Tommy.
True. But you've never been to a Joe Hendry concert.
That is true. That is true. But,
I gotta say this though. How cool would it have been to leave NXT and on your car is a Joe Hendry flyer, and then you see the video of him handing them out? I am getting that thing signed, certified, and framed.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure people are selling them for a mint.
Oh yeah, no question. But the Great American Bash is Tuesday night, NXT. Guys, watch Raw on Monday nights. Watch NXT on Tuesday nights. Watch Dynamite on Wednesday nights. Watch Impact on Thursday. SmackDown, Collision, Rampage. There is no reason that we can't watch wrestling 6 days a week. And
it is amazing.
Do that. I cannot stress enough how awesome it is that we have wrestling 6 nights a week.
And hey, come 2026, when SummerSlam is like WrestleMania and it's 2 nights, those weeks will be 7 nights of professional wrestling.
Yes. Love all wrestling. I know we talk shit about AEW and all that, but guys, it's professional wrestling. It's in our blood. It's what all of us grew up on. Just watch it all. If you're gonna hate it. But let's watch it all. Let's. Which of course, New Japan comes on Access TV directly after Impact on Thursday nights. They had some banger matches last night.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I wouldn't even call us haters. I feel like we're saying how we see it, and we are trying to give some tips like, hey, this obviously ain't working. We want people to watch it. We want this to be good, but it's not working. I mean, we want it to be better, but it's clearly not what it used to be. So like, if we got something to say, it's not out of bad faith or anything like that. We just want everything to be good.
Yeah.
And I mean, companies have their highs and low points. I mean, WWE 10 years ago, if you look at today versus 10 years ago, it is a night and day difference. So it's like, stick with it through the bad. Hopefully it gets to a better place, but just love it in the end.
Absolutely. And what a time to be alive, to say that we have 6 or 7 days a week to be pro wrestling fans. And just like Robert just said, he said, plus go to indie matches as much as you can. Go
Yeah.
support your local wrestling. And I mean, that in itself, you could be watching future WWE or TNA or AEW people, which, I'm fortunate enough I had the chance to ring announce a lot of people that were NXT, like Sean Mercer, and Sarah Logan. I've been able to announce those folks, and Shane Mercer, not Sean. I don't know why I'm even missing that. Bearded Dog said, "I believe in Joe Hendry. We're going to do it just for him.
Right.
Just for him."
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
It never gets old. That
It
is
doesn't.
the thing.
It doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. I mean, last week I was driving somewhere and I put his song on. I literally listened to it for like 4 or 5 times in a row on repeat.
Yes.
And thankfully on YouTube I found an extended cut version where it just keeps going and going.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I've I've Shane Mercer. I've announced so many of his matches. Actually, refereed one of his matches, which is crazy. That was the night that he got hit with a trash can and got split open, and we had to rush him to the back because we can't do blood in Kentucky. But yeah, I mean, it's just good to be a wrestling fan again. Monday Raw, Tuesday NXT, Wednesday Dynamite, Thursday Impact and New Japan, Friday SmackDown, Rampage, Saturday Collision. It's just such a great time to be a wrestling fan. If you can't watch them, DVR them. I've got so much. I've got Ohio Valley Wrestling on DVR. I record everything. So I am absolutely happy to be a wrestling fan in 2024 because you have all the options to be a fan of professional wrestling.
Yeah, so quick thing before we go, I forgot to mention, so if y'all watched us on back when we streamed on Facebook, we had our friend Rob Too Sweet on. And we had mentioned he wrestles for Extreme Wrestling Force. And on Saturday, August 10th at Henrietta, New York in the Dome Arena, I will be going to see our buddy Rob Too Sweet wrestle.
Let's go.
And I just want to go over some notable people who are going to be there. Is one Lance Anoa'i of the Anoa'i family. He'll be wrestling. Brian Kendrick is going to be there in a match against Nick Ando. Chavo Guerrero is going to be coming to wrestle. Enzo Fandango is going to be there. It's going to be a fun show. I'm pretty sure that's a picture of Dawn Marie. So it's going to be a fun night of wrestling, and it's local. So I'm going to go support the guys and gals there. But
I'm going to have to Venmo you and get a JDC Fandango autograph for my collection.
Hell yeah. I'm going to see if I can. Dude, I'm going to see if I can. I might mark out and see if Chavo can give me something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Guerrero name it's so legendary. And I always thought Chavo was so underrated. But it's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll be able to see Rob, and hopefully we can get him on again because
yeah,
Rob's a nut of this business just like we are. So,
well, again, if you guys are buying pay-per-views and TNA Plus, again, Bearded and I will be at Emergence at the end of next month. I've got to go find my blonde wig at Party City so that I can wear it with my Joe Hendry t-shirt. And we will be on the TV side in the front row, and it's going to be epic. I'm just going to tell you, I may make a YRW sign and take it with me, just so
I
you guys
think
can find us.
I think you should take some of the potential business cards that our wonderful D is making,
Yeah,
and you should pass them out like Joe Hendry on people's cars.
you
Just
could.
saying. Just saying. Just saying.
But guys, we've had a great show. We've almost went an hour and a half tonight, and I love these kind of shows because it just shows how much you guys love wrestling, how much you guys want to always talk about wrestling with us. And we couldn't do this show without each and every one of you. So make sure that you're subscribing to our podcast on whatever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and also make sure that you're here with us on Twitch and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern every Friday night. And make sure to like and share our sponsors. We've got T-shirts that are available. You guys will see that at the end of the show. Scan the QR code. Support, and get your YRW T-shirt. Which the one I love the most is the Logan Paul Sucks shirt. So we've got a lot of options for you. And guys, the show is going to continue to get bigger, better, and we're going to be body slamming the competition before it's over.
I don't think we have competition.
We got that one dumbass show with Dave LaGreca that.
Oh, fuck Dave LaGreca. all you gotta do, keep supporting us. We appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate it all. Check out the link tree. Check out our Patreon. We got so many different tiers. You can get a lot of exclusive stuff that you don't get to see on the show. Plus maybe an extra show for just you people who subscribe.
Absolutely.
Exclusive merch, T-shirt, all sorts of stuff. So check it all out. We appreciate it. And this is another one in the books.
Yes,
Yankee
it is.
T, Rebel B, signing off. Peace.
Much love. Support professional wrestling.
Deuces.